time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Fastest growing economy of the G7 countries, fastest recovery of all of the G7 countries, lowest inflation rate of the G7 countries. Unemployment rate, 3.6%, nearly a 5-decade low. Wages are now growing faster than inflation. Things are going right. Things are going in the right direction. We're rebuilding manufacturing. We're doing a bunch of infrastructure. We're doing stuff, getting stuff done, getting good stuff done. Stuff we should have done, years ago. Things that another guy, you may remember his name, weird-haired guy, always tweeted a lot about how we were going to do infrastructure, how we were going to make the country great again. We were going to bring back jobs. Said a lot of words. There were a lot of words. There were words. Now, the words were empty, hollow, and worthless, but there were words. There were lots of them. In fact, we had lots of photos. There were lots of photo opportunities. There were lots of PR stunts, lots of gimmicks, lots of, hey, look at me. Not got anything done. Didn't do anything. In fact, during the 4 years of the weird-haired guy and the tweets, nothing got built. Nothing got done. Jobs didn't come back. We were promised we were going to reshore manufacturing. Promised we were going to save that plant that GM plant in Lordstown, Ohio. Lots of promises. Didn't do it. But there is a guy. There's a guy who I affectionately call Jelly Bucket Joe. Jelly Bucket Joe shows up. Biden the builder doing the work. And I spent a little time over at invest.gov today. And it was one of those things you go, wow, I didn't realize all of the things that we were doing. Spending about $503 billion committed so far. Private investment, about $503 billion to bring semiconductors. Now, we're paying a little bit. I think a small percentage of this is coming from the taxpayer. But look, we need to reshore and fast. But $231 billion in semiconductors and electronics. This is the frontier of the new world. This is what you have to build this stuff. You have to have the capacity. And thanks to corporate America, thanks to our well-heeled, well-funded, well-paid CEO class, we've lost this. And again, I hate to say that we lost it. We know where it went. They took it over to China. They took it over to Southeast Asia. Because, hey, we can get cheap labor. We can exploit cheap labor, put that exploitation in our pockets. That's what corporate America decided. And they funded a bunch of politicians to help them do it. Now you got Jelly Bucket Joe going, hey, we're going to restore some of that stuff. We're going to bring those jobs back, and they better be union jobs. We're building EVs and batteries, $134 billion in private investment going into that. Clean energy, $104 billion in clean energy going there. 19 billion in biochemicals and $14 billion in heavy industry stuff. We're building stuff. And look, at the end of the day, the virus, I hope, if there was a positive to come out of this, we realized how dependent we are on parts of the world that don't like us very much. We find out that we should probably be building stuff, lots of stuff. And I look at the fact that Biden has done an incredible job, in my view. He really has. Just hasn't done the kind of, hey, look at me. He's Jelly Bucket Joe. He just shows up. He just does his job. The fact that they've added during his term, in the 29 months that he's been president, they've added 13.2 million jobs. Let me say that again, 13.2. I know, but Rick, those were all the jobs that were, that were lost during the Trump years because of the virus. They just all came back. No, they didn't all just come back. You don't just flip on a switch and go, everybody come back now. There's actually a process that goes through this. Now that's more than any president during a four-year term ever. Good on him. And it's because of the legislation that they moved. In some cases, got a minute amount of bipartisan support. So we're calling that infrastructure bipartisan. Not so much. A lot of people on a bipartisan basis just want to take credit for it. Think the dumbest guy in the Senate, Tommy Tuberville. But we've got a strong foundation to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. We have an opportunity. And again, his words, bottom up, middle out. Instead of the other way. There was a guy with slicked hair, movie actor, said a lot of lines, memorized the whole term. Oh yeah, Ronald Reagan. The trickle-down stuff, trickle-down doesn't work. We figured that out. I think we figured that out. I think finally we have figured being trickled on, not good. I'm sure there's some people out there who prefer that, and that's their thing. And whatever you do within the confines of your four walls, that is your business. But in economic terms, it doesn't happen. Sorry, doesn't happen. I'm sure there's somebody out there who, like I said, enjoys being trickled on. Economically, it's not happening. There were no rivers of gold and honey. There was no manna from heaven. The only trickle is, well, you figure it out. But here's the thing, and this is where I keep coming back to. The jobs are roaring. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs. A couple 100,000 jobs this month. More people right now. I just saw this weird statistic. The highest level since 2001. I'll get it right. More people 25 to 54 are working since 2021. More women 25 to 54 are working. The highest participation level in decades. Now the right's going to go, well, there are all those jobs with, participation. People are too lazy to work. Nobody wants to work anymore. People are lazy. Well, these numbers are kind of showing, no, not so much. If wages are going up, people are going to want the jobs. And we're seeing that. And it is a good thing. I think it is a good thing. It's something we need. Now, the problem that we have is, and this is the weird part, you look at Biden's approval ratings, and they aren't great. Let's go with that. Not great. The fact that, we had the fastest growth rate of any of the G7 countries. We've recovered faster than all of them. The inflation rate's much lower than all of them. We've done so much better than everybody else. And yet, Biden's economic approval ratings are actually 7 points worse than his overall number, which is not great either. And to me, this should show us that the right-wing media sphere, this is what they're capable of. They flood the zone with horrible. They flood the zone with fear. They flood the zone with total BS. There's a recession coming. Didn't you know there's a recession right around the corner? Every day. When's the recession coming? Biden economics is going to cause a recession. Biden economics is bad. And the reality is as they're still doing this, as it's still coming out of their mouth, as they're still wishing and hoping and, in hands, the economy's still steaming along. Now, you go, but, that's not all Joe Biden. No, it's not all Joe Biden. It's his policies. We're investing in stuff. The people who invest in buildings and new startups, they see opportunity because you've got a government that says we're going to help. As I said, I spent some time over at invest.gov, and I highly suggest that you do, because you can go through, and they've broken it down into private investment and public investment. You can see where the private investment is going. You can see, places where, chip manufacturing is happening. You can go to places where, clean energy is being done. You can go to places where, they're building factories. They're bringing jobs back. Or you can go and say, hey, look, I want to see what public infrastructure is being done. How many projects are being done in my neighborhood? And I did. There's several in my neighborhood right now being done to help improve our lives. And I did this thing of, just kind of scaling back to the whole country. And literally there isn't a place. I couldn't find a place where there wasn't really a public sector project happening. Every state, almost every piece of real estate, there's something going on. There's something happening in every state, and especially in the states that voted against Biden, which is weird. Again, the people who voted against him are reaping the benefits. And there's part of me that goes, that jaded part of me, that part of me who could never be president, because, I probably would be like Donald Trump and say, if you didn't vote for me, well, you're against me, you get nothing. Because I've always said, if you voted against the infrastructure bill, you don't get anything in your district because you're not representing your people. And maybe the people there will go, hey, we want roads and bridges. Hey, we need infrastructure. We need an airport. We need the work done. We need new sewer lines. We need new power lines. We need broadband access. And yet your representative and my representative, Scott Perry, voted against all of this stuff. And yet in my district, there are things going on where he's going to take credit for it. Look how wonderful. Look what I fought for. You voted against it, Scott Perry. And this is the weird moment. And I think this is why Democrats are doing more, I think a little bit better. And I give them credit. They're trying. This Investing in America website, invest.gov, has some cool stuff on there. I still wish it was a little flashier. Still wish it was a little more interactive, where you could, maybe like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, did, put that live stream on that project that's being built, so you can go, hey, let's see what's going on over there. And you could actually see your tax dollars at work and know that. And of course, I would want a giant Joe Biden pointing at it going, I did that, image in the corner. But there's a lot going on. And it's weird to me, because I had this conversation where someone was, telling me how bad things are, how horrible the economy is, how inflation's killing everything, and how, we're heading to this doomsday. And I finally said to him, I go, where are you getting your information on this? Where's this all coming from? Yeah, inflation is not great. But understand, if wages keep up, inflation isn't bad for the working class, especially if you're a debtor, especially if you have a mortgage like virtually everyone in the working class. Not a bad thing. Again, as long as wages keep up. And this is where, I look at what's going on, and we're going to talk about a little bit later about UPS. This is why workers organizing so very important, and why I love Jelly Bucket Joe. I got to tell you, I love the guy. The fact that he's saying, yeah, we're going to bring those jobs back, and they're going to be union jobs. They're going to have good wages and benefits and security and the things that families desperately need. Because ultimately, when you look at what's going on, this is about families. This is about communities. This is about restoring dignity to those places that for too long the largest employer in town is the hospital and the drug treatment center. It's time to get back to what people my age and older remember as the American dream. And you got a guy in the White House, and look, he remembers, 80 years old? And I don't care. All the people who sent me emails saying, he's 80 years old, don't care. Love the policies. If you can look at Donald Trump and say he's crazy, he's a criminal, he's doing all this insane stuff, he's dangerous to national security, mishandling classified stuff. If you can get away with saying, but I like his policies, I can do the same thing. I'm still trying to figure out what policies Trump championed, other than, hey, look at me, how wonderful I am. But, it is what it is. I like Biden's policies moving us in a positive direction. Now, I look at Kevin McCarthy every day putting out a tweet saying how bad things are. Still have no idea where Kevin McCarthy, where his eyes are and what he's seeing. I'm seeing a future. Not sure what Kevin sees. But I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Going to take a quick break right back after this. Stick around.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, Manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The Inflation Reduction Act will lower energy prices and create millions of new jobs by dramatically increasing the manufacturing of solar panels, wind turbines, electric cars, and energy-efficient home appliances. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and DC government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
So again, I come back to the policy stuff. I come back to the fact that Jelly Bucket Joe gets it. My boy Builder Biden on the right course came out and talked about these, and I remember this during the Trump years, was dead set against these scam insurance, these short-term insurance things. You know, and Biden came out and said, look, you know, we got to crack down on these things, on these short-term plans. He called them a scam, said you can't leave Americans being played for suckers. This is good. He said, you know, in America, it sounds corny, but is fairness something we kind of expect? And I don't know anybody who likes being used, having been played for a sucker, taken advantage of. People are ready to meet their responsibilities. But I think this is a big deal. And I think it's time to start getting away from some of this stuff. These short-term plans during the Trump years were left unchecked. You know how they go. You know, we're going to get you the minimum coverage you need. We're going to get you the health care you need. We're going to give you a wonderful card, and it'll look shiny in your wallet, and you'll feel all secure knowing that, hey, I got health care. And it's like, you know, it's like $8 a month. And you go, wait, what kind of health care do you get like that? You know, it reminds me of, you know, my son and I had a conversation just the other day. We're both learning to ride motorcycles. And we had to go get insurance because my son bought a motorcycle. So in order to get the motorcycle, got to have insurance. So he's like, you know, my friend says insurance is like $100 a year. And I'm going, no. So we went through my insurance company. It turns out it's $800 a year for him. And what it is it covers him against real loss. So I showed him, I sat him down and we went through, this is what you get for $100 a year. This is the $100 a year plan. It is like $5,000 in damage, and it's $15,000 in medical. That's it. It is the bare state minimum. Doesn't cover anything on the bike, doesn't cover anything, covers virtually nothing. Now here's what we got. You know, $100,000 and $300,000 in damage and all in the health care that if you get injured, there's all that. If your bike gets totaled, you'll get, you know, comprehensive collision. There's all this stuff. And this is the difference between what the Affordable Care Act was trying to do, saying, hey, we're going to make sure that there's bare minimum coverage here, that you're going to get checkups, that you're going to get, you know, you're going to get care when you need it, and it's not going to make you go broke. And then these scam plans that go, I've got health care. It doesn't cover anything, but I've got it. So good on Joe Good on Joe for speaking out. Let's quick go to the phones. We've got Kurt in Tucson, Arizona on line 1. Kurt, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing great. What's on your mind?
So I want to just add to I'm so optimistic right now about the future and bringing people together. On Monday, my wife and I were going to Ukraine. We've been taking classes for like a year with, do you know who Timothy Snyder is?
I'm afraid I don't.
He's a professor at Yale on the history of Eastern Europe and Ukraine.
Okay.
And he's created a program called Making a Modern Ukraine. And what we're going to be doing, what we're starting off with is we're going to be documenting the war in Ukraine. And then in the whole program of Making the Modern Ukraine, there's a lot of global initiatives that's going to start coming out of working together on a global level. And not only will it help Ukrainians, but it'll help us and all the countries that are participating in it. I'm so optimistic about this, Rick, and I think just for the countries as a whole, it just the idea of us working together and at the same time working for a better like economies for not only for Ukraine, but it will help the United States as well. There's a whole lot of initiatives.
Yeah, I mean, all of Europe. I mean,
about this whole program.
Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. I mean, there's a lot there that needs to be done. So good on you. So you're going to Ukraine. Not worried about safety. Not worried about what as an American going somewhere like not worried about something going on.
You know what, Rick? I feel very secure. And the reason why I say that, I know my wife would not, if she wasn't secure, we wouldn't be doing this.
I was going to say, I thought she was going to take care of you. Anybody bothers you, she's going to knock them out. I thought that's where you were going.
Right. But the people we're working with, I feel very secure with, and they are not going to lead us into harm's way. And we're not necessarily going to we're not going to the front line
right.
per se.
Of course not.
There's places where, I mean, you can look at a map and know that, hey, this is not the place to go. And not that the country is not, things can happen, but I feel secure. And,
good.
And I don't think the Ukrainian people we're working with would lead us into harm's way. And,
it's great to hear. It's great to hear from you again. I wish you the best. Stay safe, and when you get back, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear about your trip.
Yeah, I'll have some good things to share with you.
I hope so. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Wow, good on him, man. This is one of those things where when you look at me, I scream American. You go, hey, there he is. There's the American. Go get him. So I give credit to people who put themselves in that kind of peril and are willing to do that. I know in that situation, no matter where it is, they're going to go, there's the American, get him. And that's going to be one of those things that I end up getting got. But good on him. I mean, the reality is we need the globe needs a democratic Ukraine, and not with our thumb on the scale or anyone else's thumb on the scale, but the fact that Russia is moving in that direction, it's not good for the globe for Russia to start wanting to get the old gang back together. And the fact that Biden, again, I give him credit for doing the right thing. We did not put boots on the ground, which I was against from the beginning. We did not get it. We did not go in and take over, which I say was the right thing. But we did make sure that the people had what they needed, and we're still doing that. Now I come back to manufacturing. Had we all those manufacturing plants that we allowed to go under, this would have been a lot easier. Something we got to talk about. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. Then the Teamsters pushed a law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind. The union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
Indigenous people have been saying that we feel a shift in the climate for decades. Climate change is here. The time is now to pass the torch on to the next generation of clean energy warriors. We need to put the land back to work for our people. That means creating jobs for them to live and thrive in our communities. The time is now. Congress must invest in clean energy.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At the Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right-left or red-blue, when they are and always have been up-down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people, for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.